Just over a year ago, I made a freaked out video at 1 in the morning and put it on the internet. And I said, hey guys, I think Donald Trump and Elon Musk might be attempting to carry out a coup. I think this is a coup. Anybody else think that this is an auto coup that's happening in the United States right now? In that moment where I felt like a little bit desperate, a little bit crazy, like, am I the only one seeing this? Why is it that nobody in my real life is as freaked out as I am? Why is it that so many social media creators are just like business as usual? And why is it that our members of Congress don't seem to understand the urgency at all? And that video resonated with an awful lot of people. It went really viral, and this is where I have found myself now, using my platform and my voice to advocate for democracy, to try and educate people about what's going on, but also how we organize, resist, fight back, and win against fascism, how we defeat a coup in the United States. This has been an ongoing coup for a little over a year. It's still in process. They're not done yet, and we can stop it. So we spent the last year in this period that basically looked like pretty accelerated democratic backsliding. And we're now in this period that experts would call authoritarian breakthrough. Like fascism's fucking here. And I've seen other creators talking about the different kinds of coups and the different stages of a coup, the different stages of how an authoritarian cements their power. I haven't seen enough people talking about the stages of an anti-coup, because while they're trying to carry out a coup, we're carrying out an anti-coup. The defense of democracy is an anti-coup. Elon Musk may have hightailed it out of there with all of our private information uploaded to his little cloud, training his AI with it. He launched a holocaust against the world's poor by dismantling USAID. 14 million people will die by the end of it. Elon Musk will have been directly responsible for killing 14 million people. It's a holocaust. It's ongoing right now, right now. Little children around the world are starving to death. They're dying from a lack of access to clean water, basic medical care, and emergency food aid. Elon Musk did that. Donald Trump did that. The Republicans did that. And we can talk about how at the end of an anti-coup, there has to be justice, there has to be accountability, there has to be restoration of the rule of law, there has to be restitution. There has to be so much justice that has to come at the end of this. Justice is not going to be denied us. It's being delayed until we can get to a point where we can enact it, and we will. We will. Okay, so the 4 stages of an anti-coup. Number 1 is utter shock. That's where I was a year ago when I made my video at 1 in the morning being like, pretty sure that this is a fucking coup. Why is it that nobody seems too upset about it? Why is everybody going about their business? Why is everybody acting like life is normal? And I know lots of y'all weren't, right? Lots of people were in this phase of utter shock, and they couldn't really process what was happening, especially because we can't have fascism in the United States. We can't have authoritarianism in the land of the free and the home of the brave. It just didn't compute for so many people because we've been so indoctrinated to believe in American exceptionalism, right? To believe so many things. White people, we thought this was the land of the free and the home of the brave. Black Americans have known for a long time that we're pretty fashy. We've been pretty fashy for a long time. For most of us, it was utter shock. So many of us had been in a state of shock since the election. People really thought Kamala Harris was going to get elected, even though her own internal polling, her own advisors told her that she was going to lose. We didn't really know what to do with, like, how could this country make the mistake of picking Donald Trump again? What is going on here? And it was just the level of being so flabbergasted, the sense of unreality, right? That lasts for a while. That's stage 0 of the 4 stages of an anti-coup. At stage 0, we're not taking action yet. We're not really in it. We're not organizing. We're just shell-shocked. We're just, holy shit, what the fuck is happening here? How could this happen here, right? A little bit of denial, a little bit of magical thinking from people, a lot of magical thinking, a lot of wanting to wake up from a nightmare, wanting something to happen that would stop all of this, wanting there to be some miracle, some savior, some hero who would come in and make it all go away very quickly. That utter shock phase includes an awful lot of magical thinking and denial, and I think some Americans are still in that phase. I would hope over the last couple of months that more of us have moved into phase 1 and even phase 2. Phase 1 is where we're gathering strength. And actually, a lot of folks were doing this even before Donald Trump was elected. They saw that this was coming. Mark Elias from Democracy Docket, attorneys general around the country, like they were organizing, they were preparing some sort of defense. Why Democrats in Congress weren't, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck they were doing, but was not organizing a defense. But after Trump got elected, organizations like Indivisible, which formed during Trump's first term to combat his authoritarianism then, they really mobilized and they started bringing more people into the movement. I found Indivisible in early February of last year and I got plugged in immediately. So phase one is this gathering strength. We're drawing people into the movement. We're finding out who knows what, who has what resources, who has what skills, and we're bringing them in. We're building, we're aggregating our power. And that's that grassroots groundswell, right? Power comes from the people. It comes from the bottom up. Our elected officials, they don't really have power. They're not going to drive the fight. They're not going to drive the anti-coup in any way. They're only going to go where we push them. And even then, unfortunately, they're only going to go grudgingly. We're spending an awful lot of time pushing them. But in the meantime, we're gathering our strength. And so we've been in that phase for the last year. A really good example, I think, of a public show of gathering strength. One of the first big recruitment efforts that also showed everybody hey, a lot of Americans are not down with this, was the hands-off protests that happened in April of last year. Likewise, people are building skills. So it's not just bringing more people into the movement. People are educating themselves. People are learning new skills, getting first aid trained, reading on authoritarianism in other countries, learning about civil resistance, what it looks like to engage in nonviolent discipline, how to engage in nonviolent direct action. Lots of skill building, learning philosophy, techniques, learning history, gaining knowledge, because we've really been denied a lot of that. Our government didn't really want us to know what was required for us to organize and stop an authoritarian government. Our government and the billionaires don't want us to know about the labor movement in this country. White supremacists don't want us to know the history of the civil rights movement. So now we've spent the last year playing catch up. People have been learning an awful lot at a really rapid pace, and that's such important work. So it's work that's not really visible, right? Because it's all internal. You're preparing yourself for those bigger actions. Likewise, a lot of our organizing has been around how do we communicate as a group? What are the channels that we're going to use? Signal? How often are we going to meet? What are the goals of our group? Are we acting hyper-locally? Are we putting pressure on electeds? Are we working on national actions? What's our role in the resistance? And then we're building those relationships with each other. We're learning how to communicate in a healthy way. There's always going to be hiccups. There's always going to be fallouts, lots of growing pains, right? So that gathering strength includes growing pains. Step 2 of an anti-coup is cycles of interference. And these are often smaller acts of non-cooperation and disruption. This is where we're flexing our muscles, that we're starting to build. We're trying out new things, a lot of experimentation in this phase. And this is where we are right now. What works? What effectively pushes back? What effectively chisels away at those pillars of support? What gets other people to come and join us? And also, what gets institutions to become non-compliant? In this period, some actions really take off. Some symbols really get picked up by the movement. There are people who rise to the forefront of the movement. And some things fizzle, some efforts get discarded. We're trying out new things. It's really good to be adaptive and changeable and experimenting. So necessary and important. That's part of our creative process, because in every attempt to push back against a coup, against an authoritarian, different techniques are going to meet the moment. Different techniques in different cultures, in different periods of time are going to be effective. And so we've got to try all kinds of things. And it's okay if some things don't work. It's okay if we try something out and we're actually that didn't land like I thought it would. Let's pivot and try something new. So here in the United States, we are still in phase 1 and phase 2, right? We're still building our strength. We're still drawing people in. We need a lot more people, right? As former Black Panther Speaks says, large numbers are protective. We got to keep drawing people in. We got to keep educating people and building skills. And while we're doing that, we're engaging in these cycles of interference, but we're getting ready for step 3. And that's mass action. Those are huge general strikes, labor strikes, rent strikes, massive boycotts, massive protests in the streets. These are large, coordinated actions, often for sustained periods of time, that require mass levels of participation. They take a lot of planning, they take a lot of skill, they take a lot of people being committed and involved. That's where we're headed, y'all, but we're not there yet. We're not ready. We're going to get there. I know a lot of us would like us to get there quicker. That's how you stop a coup. Mass mobilization of the people engaged in sustained direct action. These big, heavy lifts, that's what we've got to do next. That's what we've got to keep preparing for. That is the way out of this. We're going to get there, y'all. Let's keep moving. We're going to get there.